Welcome to the Good Divorce Show, where we can help you learn how to navigate the journey of divorce with less conflict, less debt, and equip you not to just get divorced, but also learn how to be divorced. Your host, certified divorce coach Karen McNenny, shares her wealth of knowledge, gets advice from other relationship experts, and interviews couples who learn how to have a good divorce, so you can too. Now here's your host, Karen.
Hey there. Thanks for tuning in today at the Good Divorce Show. I'm Karen McNenny, your good divorce coach. You know, we don't always get an opportunity to talk about blended families here on the show. And so many of you are part of blended families, and there might be stepkids and biological kids and kids that have 4 or 6 parents and 27 grandparents. And have you ever wondered how to better create transitions and relationships within that complex family system? Well, today we have answers for you because Lori and David Sims, they are the creators of Nacho Kids Method. This is a revolutionary approach that helps step parents reduce stress, improve relationships, and thrive in blended families. You know, after they came back from the brink of their own divorces, they developed a method that empowers step parents to step back from parenting roles and focus on building healthier connections. It is through the Nacho Kids Academy, their workshops, and their podcast that Lori and David have helped thousands of step families worldwide. Their approach teaches that you can't control others. Hey, wait a minute, I don't know about that. But you can control how you respond to it and how you let other people's behavior affect you. This philosophy has transformed family dynamics. They are so passionate about helping others find peace. Lori and David believe that every blended family can thrive with the right mindset and tools. I'm curious to hear more. Welcome to the show, you two.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Can we just start with Nacho Kids for those that might be hearing this for the first time?
You mean how we came up with Nacho Kids?
Yes, because we're not talking about cheese and chips here.
No, we're not. We're not. We had some very big struggles. We're on the verge of divorce, actually sleeping in separate rooms. And I called a counselor that we met with prior to us getting married because we did the work prior to getting married. We read the books, talked to people, all this stuff because we knew it wouldn't be easy. Mm-hmm. And this one counselor, thank God he knew how hard-headed I was because he told me 832 times, Lori, they're not your kids. And the first time he said it, I was like, well, duh, I know that. But then it's like, hurt my feelings a little bit because I cared about them. But after him telling me 832 times, it hit me. They are not my kids. Mm-hmm. My trying to parent these kids was the worst thing that I could ever do for our family.
David, can you paint a picture of the two families? Like what kind of led to this blended family? Give us that structure if you could.
What led to this blended family? I've got 4 kids and 3 of those are triplets and they're only a year and a half apart. So they're all close in age. Lori brought one son into the marriage. And we neither one had a great divorce that we come off of. There's, I guess you could say there's some baggage there. And so that's our dynamic. And that's what we came into it with. And I believe that we both tried to make our blended family function the way our biological families functioned previously.
Nuclear.
Whether it was from, like for me, I was married for years and had kids, whereas Lori wasn't married and for that long or didn't have kids from that relationship. And it was just a different dynamic. So, like I was looking at my previous relationship, I was looking at relationships that I knew of, whether it's friends or family, and trying to model that. And it just didn't work. It did not work at all for our relationship. And it was a journey, and it was a lot of hard work to figure out what actually does work in a blended family. And I'm not saying this is the only things that work, but just for us, what was working. And it was very surprising what we found.
And again, you were saying, Lori, over and over again, not your kids, not your kids, Nacho Kids, sister. Yeah.
Well, David and I walked out in the parking lot after meeting with that counselor, and we even drove separately. That's how bad things were. And I looked at him, I said, all he said to me is, they're Nacho Kids.
Mhm.
My Southernese kicked in and we started laughing. And really, that's like the clouds parted, the rays came down from heaven, and it hit me. They're not my kids.
Yeah, that's probably the first time we laughed in maybe a year.
Yeah.
I mean, we were in a really bad spot. We don't talk about that too often, but it's hard now to give it the same weight because you see us smiling and laughing and talking, and we have a fantastic relationship. But it was literally, I was waiting on somebody just to come serve me with divorce papers. I think we were both at the point where neither one of us wanted a divorce, but we were okay expecting the other person to kind of drop the shoe.
Yeah.
Things were so bad. I actually was having physical effects from it.
Mhm.
I went to the doctor. They thought I had pancreatic cancer
Oh, heaven.
because I had lost so much weight so quick. I couldn't gain weight. I was just weak.
Yeah, she was frail.
Yeah, it was horrible. I think I know at one point I asked David, I said, do you wish I would die? That's how bad of a place we were in.
Yeah. How long have you been married?
15 years.
Yeah. And together, I don't know if there was a long courtship before then.
A year and a half.
Yeah.
And how long ago were these dark days?
You're 2 to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the bad parts. Now, it took us a long time to get to a good spot. And that's typically a question everybody asks, like, how long is it going to take me?
Oh,
And
longer than you think it should and longer than you want it to. That's
Right.
the answer there.
Well,
Yeah.
we didn't get that way overnight. So you've got to take the time. And for us, I think it took longer because there was so much hurt.
Mhm.
I had to heal, the kids had to heal. And it was like taking baby steps to rebuild a bond with
Yeah.
them.
And we didn't have Nacho Kids as a resource. So we had to figure things out kind of on the fly. And so when things wouldn't work, it was Lori and me sitting down at a table going, okay, that's not working. Let's try something different.
Mhm.
And then we would try that for a while. Okay, that's not working. Let's try something different. And then, oh, wow, that works. That's interesting.
Mhm.
And then just keep going. And so there was just lots and lots of iterations of trying to figure out what was working and what wasn't.
Well, we want to hear more about what was working and what wasn't. I'm going to ask one more kind of logistical question. How old were your kids when you got married, when they came into this blended family, roundabout?
My son was 4. The
Mhm.
triplets were 9. And Avery had just turned 11.
Okay.
Avery, the oldest,
Yeah.
just turned 11.
So yeah, they were all young, elementary school, preschool. And my next question is, what was the residential schedule? Were they all with you 100% of the time? Were there kids that were transitioning between homes? Because understanding their dynamic and how they bridge between homes is certainly relevant to the conversation.
Right. My son, I had him all the time except for every other weekend, a week during June, a week during July, a week in August, kind of the old fashioned visitation schedule, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And when David and I got married, his kids, we had them 11 out of 14 days.
Okay.
And then that changed. And ironically, when that changed is when things got really bad.
And how did it change?
Yeah, we went to a 50-50 schedule. And initially it was one of these 2 days on, 2 days off, 2 days on, 3 days off, just back and forth all the time.
Bouncy bounce, bouncy
Yeah.
bounce.
It was that for a while. I don't remember how long exactly. And then
Not long.
And then we ended up changing and going to a 7-day on, 7-day off schedule because them bouncing back and forth just was not good for them.
Yeah. And did the week on, week off help in some way?
I think so. If nothing else, it gave us more of a break between times that they were here because I think we needed that to really step back, work on our own relationship because we were not in a good spot. So we had more time to work on our own relationship and our own time to look at things and kind of have a game plan for the next week.
Yeah.
And for them, they weren't living out of a suitcase all the time. They felt like they had 2 homes versus 2
Visitation.
hotel rooms.
Mhm.
And I think it's really relevant to think about the experience of the child. And when they're young, we're still attaching under the age of 5, certainly under the age of 3, those little short stops make a little more sense. But as they get older, they want their stuff. And it takes a day of transition to settle into the culture of the other home.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I don't understand about the 2-2-3-3 or whatever it is, because they don't even have time to get settled in one place and they're bounced right back to the other.
Well, I can speak for me. It was completely a selfish the way I looked at it, which was I just don't want to be without them more than 2 or 3 days at a time.
Right. And when they're little and we're just all forging into divorce, those shorter transition schedules can make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But the longer stretch, I know my kids, they came to us after COVID, after we were all hanging out in our pajamas for a long time, and at home, and they said, "Can we do 2-week cycles? Like we see you guys all the time, but we're tired, right?" And then when my eldest daughter went off to college, brother came to us. They're 18 months apart, and he said, "Can I just be in a place for a month? Because I built this computer system, and gaming's really important to him now, and it's like it's not even worth it." So and we live 6 blocks apart. So they were floating, but they wanted to feel like they had some rootedness. And this is the biggest imposition hopefully this is the biggest imposition that we put on our kids. It's not a whole bunch of other drama, but this one, I really think the parents, like yourselves, thinking about what is the right rhythm for our family.
Right.
Okay, so now that we have a picture of this family, I want to hear a little bit about where was it not working? And then specifically, what did you do to address it? What are some tools that our listeners could take into consideration?
Anything you can think of was not working.
I was going to say, I don't think anything was working.
For instance,
chores, schedule, homework.
Keep going.
Yeah. Dinner,
remote control,
everything.
None of the expectations were completely upside down.
Right.
And part of that, and part of my story is I like to tell people that I created a lot of the issues because of my improper expectations on her. And she was trying to live up to those expectations. And a lot of that was just born out of, how we thought things should go and what our previous relationships might have looked like.
And gender roles.
Yeah. And so, and some of it was just logistics. Like I go to work at 4:30 in the morning. It makes sense that you should take the kids to school because you don't have to be at work till 8. Mm-hmm. But when the kids are making her late to work and there's issues every single morning, then it's okay, what are we going to do? Because this is not working. And guess what? I got them to school before she was in my life. So I need to figure out how to do this without her until we get to a place that she can start helping again, if that's in the cards.
Because Lori, you went from 1 child to 5.
One sweet little baby boy.
Oh my Lord.
To adding 4 hoodlums from the zoo.
Hey, them is fighting words. Yeah.
Though, and you've got to think, it was just my son and I. My house was quiet, clean. Here, David thinks a couch is a trampoline.
It's got springs.
Well, sure.
Yeah. So they were all boy, right?
So and was it 4 boys?
Mm-hmm.
5 with mine. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we got all boys taken over. I love boys. We're not doing any gender specifying, attaching anything negative to anybody. But boy, howdy, I bet there was a big shift. And you talked about those expectations. And when we come from a nuclear intact family, that sometimes we carry that over and think that's going to continue. Is that part of what was happening for you, David?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And some of the stuff you would think would be like, why is there a problem?
Dinner time.
Yeah. Like, why can't we all sit and have dinner together? Why is that a big issue? Why can't we all sit around before bedtime and have, a family prayer time or a family, talk about our daytime? Why can't we do that? And it's not that we never got to it. It's just we couldn't do it then. And instead of trying to figure out a better way, I did what we see a lot of people do, which make the same mistake, is they keep doing more of what's not working. It's like if I just force them to sit there and do that, that's going to make it work. And oh my gosh, it creates so many problems.
Yes, so like at dinner time, his kids did not have the best table manners. I'm talking spaghetti slapping the other person.
That's how you eat spaghetti.
Just crazy.
Different, right? These kids have already been molded in another house, and now you are adopting them into your world, to your
Right.
table.
So it drove me crazy. And so it sounds great to have family dinners, right? But when I'm sitting there spewing, I mean, ready to just flip out, because if I hear one more slurping sound, then it's best that we don't do that. So what we did was we would feed the kids before or after us. You know, if they were outside playing, we'd eat real fast and then call them in. That way I didn't have to sit there and stress out and about, you know, flip out on everybody.
Yeah. One of the things that we got very okay with was understanding that there's multiple families under the same roof.
And that's okay.
And it's not, we call it a blended family, but there's also different families. Like there's her family, her and her son. There's my family. And then there's the family of me and her. And so there's all these different dynamics that are going on. And we had a very good response to breaking that apart in some cases where, you know what, you go spend time with your son. I'll go spend time with my sons. And then we'll come and spend time together. We don't always have to do everything together. And that was a very good turning point for us to make that change.
Well, even even the nighttime prayers. My son was used to doing it with me. His kids were used to doing it with him. When we tried to do everybody together, somebody wasn't paying attention. It was a mess. And I remember one night my son said, "Can it not just be me and you at night again?" And I was like, "I don't see why not."
Yeah.
So we started doing it and it worked.
Yeah, because we were unknowingly breaking traditions and stuff in the family that had been set up. Because even though I was divorced, me and my kids over that time that we were divorced created kind of our own things that we did. And they wanted to continue doing that.
Sure. Plus, they still had their mother and we're going to their home, and there were those traditions and yet another family unit. And then there's your kids' new relationship.
Yeah, it's like a Venn diagram where everybody just kind of overlaps a little bit.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the kids themselves and how they found each other, where their resistance was in the beginning, how those relationships changed, how you supported those relationships changing over time.
Well, I'll start first because I only had one to deal with. So me and my stepson, when I came into his life, he was 3. So it's almost like I've always been there with him. Now, one thing I've always been very careful of is not overstepping to where I felt like he would look at me and say, "Well, I wish my dad was here doing this with me and not you." And so I didn't want there to be any resentment there. And so I was very careful to not interject myself too much in that. So, but we've got a great relationship, and we've always had a good relationship, different than my own kids. But we've always had a very good relationship.
Well, with the 4 kids,
she had the gamut.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, they were all excited that we were getting married. They're getting a new brother. You know, my son was excited. He's getting brothers. It was good until I kicked into a parenting role. And that's when it just all went bad. But even before that, my relationships with each one was different. And once I started re-engaging and we started healing and rebonding, those relationships are still different. The one that was probably the most obnoxious, and I hate to use that word in case he hears this, is who I have the best relationship with now. Oh, and we have a picking relationship. So we pick on each other constantly. And then one of them, you know, we talk about finance stuff. And one of them, his oldest, is very quiet, very withdrawn, always has been. He talks to me more now than he ever did the whole time that he lived here before he went to the Air Force.
How about that? I would think that it's just hard. I'm imagining, you know, I'm an aunt, so sometimes I have my nieces and nephews around. I'm not their parent, but even when my kids have play dates over, friends when they were young, like you do discipline or you celebrate, you feed them, right? You're still doing parent-like services, if you will. And if my kids were acting out in someone else's home, I'd say, well, yeah, you have all right to let them know what's right and wrong, or how, if they're being mean or they're not sharing. And just the tension of how it is when you're a parent, and what was the sweet spot? I'm asking you, Lori, because it sounds like this is really where your growth edge was, between I'm a loving figure in your life. I am a caregiver in your life, but I'm not your parent.
I kicked into adulting rather than parenting.
Ooh, unpack that.
And which is almost like a babysitter mode. You make sure they're fed if they can't get their own food. You make sure they don't kill each other, just the standard things. And
like you would do as an aunt.
right,
As an aunt.
right. I don't, as an aunt, you don't say, I'm taking your iPad away for a week.
That's what I was going to ask. So what was off? What needed to come off the
Anything as far as telling them to brush their teeth, anything that could be perceived as parenting or negative in their eyes had to stop. And here's one that'll get you. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, like, so consequences, you need to, you better, you can't, anything that starts with that kind of phrasing.
Right. But even I went to wake them up one morning for school, and later that day, David said, well, the kids said you hollered at them. I didn't holler at your kids. Now, this is when we were in a bad place, right? I'm like, crazy kids. I didn't holler at them. They're just trying to start crap, right? Well, then I thought about it, because a lot of this Nacho Kids thing is more self-development and becoming aware of how you let things affect you and how you can look at things different. And I was like, wait a minute. They're used to mama going, wake up, darling. And I bust the door wide open, and I'm like, rise and shine, kids that ain't mine. So I did holler at them.
Yeah.
From their perspective, I hollered at them. But I was like, I get it. So even things like that, I just completely stepped back. If they asked me, because the grandmother lives a couple of houses down, can we go to Mama's? Ask your dad. Can we have a snack? You'll have to ask your dad. Now, granted, if they said, can you hand me that cup? I didn't go, ask your dad.
Right.
Yeah. So you didn't ignore them. It was just not to engage in anything that could be construed as negative or parenting.
Well, there is more to uncover here, listeners, and I want you to stay with us. Before we go, David, just remind people where they can find you and your resources, so we can put a little bookmark there for folks who might be dashing off.
Sure. So the easiest way to find us is to go to nachokids.com, and there's links there to all of our other resources.
There's an academy, there's workshops, there's a podcast.
Yep.
We're going to hear more about that when we return. Stay with us.
Are you thinking about getting divorced? Before you call a lawyer, call the Good Divorce Coach, Karen McNenny, a certified divorce counselor, co-parenting specialist, and mediator. Karen's signature Good Divorce experience will guide you through your divorce journey, from the day you make that difficult decision to the day the decree is signed, all for a predictable fee. The Good Divorce Coach will teach you and your partner how to get divorced and be divorced with less conflict and less debt. Visit thegooddivorcecoach.com to get in touch with Karen.
Now, back to the show with Karen.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Karen McNenny, your Good Divorce Coach, and you are sitting in the right chair, or you're on the right dog walk listening, or maybe you got your hands in the kitchen sink. Either way, I know that you are devoted and committed to creating a blended family, a life in divorce that is not full of despair and destruction, but actually hope and thriving and even fun and delight. And today we've got Lori and David Sims of Nacho Kids. And I so appreciate your bright spirit as we talk about a topic, not in a way that is about burden, but actually blessing. Welcome back, you two.
Thank you.
I want to hear a little bit. Lori, kick us off. Where and when and why did Nacho Kids as an entity actually become the thing that it is today? What was the genesis moment?
David gave me a website. And he said, in hindsight, it was more of somewhere for her just to journal, whatever. Yeah. I said her like I'm, a different person.
This is back. long time ago, when blogging was kind of really, really popular.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I bought a domain name, and because we'd always joked about the whole Nacho Kids thing, that was just a joke for us, and it kind of was the pivotal point for us. And so I bought nachokids.org, I believe it was, and I just set up a little blog there, and I was like, look, whenever you've got something on your heart or on your mind, it's bothering you, just go blog it out. So almost like a journal.
Mhm.
We never thought anybody would ever read any of it. It was just, put it out there, and, that was it.
So I was in Facebook, of course, and I would see people in other stepmom groups get attacked. How dare you not love them like your own? How dare you not do this? And I would private message those people and say, hey, I was you. How about I share with you what worked for us? And eventually I created my own little secret group. You could only get there if I invited you. And so those were like the original 200 people that we helped. And they were having great success with it too. And I'm like, wait a minute, we're on to something.
Mm.
So I'm like, we are doing a disservice to the world to not share what worked with us. And so eventually we started the podcast, we started the academy, and I created a Facebook group that anybody can join. They have to answer questions. I will say it's a hot mess in that group just because it's not a platform where we can teach the method. You've got so many opinions, so many hurt people that it's just not the place. But a lot of those people that really do want help come to the academy and work with us to get help. And then they'll stay in the Facebook group to help others sometimes.
So like 2010, when all of this started out, how long?
We got married in 2009, 2013 is when.
2015, you got a domain.
Yes.
And David, if I were part of the Nacho Kid Academy, what would I expect? What does that mean?
Yeah, so inside the academy, we have a lot of courses that are specific to different topics. So everything from, stopping the bleeding. In other words, what can you do to get some immediate relief from what's going on? Things like, I've got a mini wife syndrome situation going on, or I'm trying to co-parent, or
understanding guilty parent syndrome.
Yeah, guilty
is
parent
huge.
syndrome is another one. So there's a course. I don't know how many is in there now, like 30 something courses that we have in there now. And they're all specific to different areas. Then we also have what we call challenges. And those are typically anywhere from 2-week to 30-day challenges. And it's everything from one we call the Nacho Kids Boot Camp, which is a 30-day challenge to really get you to understand kind of where you are in your journey and what your triggers are and things like that. And then we have other challenges there as well. There's a whole community of people in there, so you can go in and talk to other people in the academy, get their feedback on their situations, and then you can communicate with us. And then depending on the level of membership you have, you can also be on coaching calls with us every other week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it sounds like an extraordinary resource. Lori, will you say a little more about guilty parent syndrome?
Oh, goodness. Well, this will be interesting. David and I, before we got married, like I said, we did all kind of research, right? We took a premarital quiz.
Yeah.
100 questions. We had one answer different. One.
Wow.
So we're thinking, oh, yeah.
We in heaven. We got this.
We got this.
Yeah, we're competitive too.
Yeah. They say blending takes 6 to 8 years. We're going to list it as 2. I mean, it was just, well, we quickly found out that when we answered those questions, we didn't take into consideration our guilty parent syndrome. Even with having my son as often as I did, I still had guilty parent syndrome. And usually guilty parent syndrome is, I feel bad my kid doesn't have a nuclear family. I feel bad they have to go bounce back and forth. I feel bad they have to hear one parent complain about the other. But for me, I think a lot of my guilty parent syndrome came from I was adamant that I would have a different relationship with my son than I had with my mom.
Oh, so it was really personal, and you were bringing a little maybe PTSD from your own family of origin?
Yes, yes. And guilty parent syndrome, we know we have it. We know we're not stupid, but it's like, oh, he's getting ready to go to his dad's. I don't want to fuss at him.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, oh, I've only got my kids a week. I don't want them to come and me fuss at them and me have to put them on restriction. And then they go back to their moms and they're not on restriction.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you don't want to be the bad guy. And the biggest fear is that your child will say, I want to go live with my other parent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what guilty parent syndrome, it paralyzes you sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's real.
And then they don't do chores because they're only here for a short time. I do all the cleaning and laundry while they're gone, and oh yeah, we're not going to do those consequences and those like we still need to parent our children so they become good grown-ups.
Right. 100%.
And hopefully there's a healthy co-parent relationship. Obviously that's the ideal.
Ideally, yes.
I tell my clients, your marriage is ending, not your relationship. Let's be real. You are in a forever relationship. So we're just renovating your relationship and we're pulling out the part that you both can care the most about, which is your kids and your co-parents.
That's who we should care most about. Unfortunately, we see it too often where the disdain for the other bio parent negates any love that that parent has for that child.
Well, if you really stop and think about it, most of us, you do love your kids more than you hate your former spouse.
Most of us, yes.
You can get that right
Mm-hmm.
and look through that lens. Now, here's another thing that I've heard through the Nacho Kids grapevine, this idea about stopping to greeting the step kids.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
This sounds like a useful tool, but I don't know where you're going with it.
It could definitely come across wrong. And unfortunately, Nacho does have a little bad rap because of the misconceptions that are put on Facebook and things like that. A lot of step parents use it as an out, but that's not the case. So when my step kids would come back from their moms, they'd walk in, I'd be like, hey, good to see you, or how was your day? And they would ignore me. Oh, Lord, that would make me mad. Because I was raised, you do not ignore an adult speaking to you, period.
Right.
So if they ignored me, I would get mad. Then I would tell David, your kids are rude or disrespectful. And, how dare you not teach them to blah, 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 and all this stuff. And so that wasn't going anywhere, right? And he wasn't going to fuss at them. They had just came in the door, right? So I said, I'm just not going to engage. And so when they would come in, it's not like I would stare at them and just not say anything. Right. I would keep doing what I was doing. Mm-hmm. You would not believe how quickly it happened to where David texted me and said, one of the kids can't wait to tell you something. Because I pulled back.
Yeah. And let them come to you. I would say, even if you're not a step parent, I'm like Barbara Walters. As soon as my kids walk in the door, what'd you do? How was it? And they're already trying to reacclimate. It's a different weather pattern. They need to. So I now know also with my clients, we talk about transition rituals, and it might be a puzzle on the table. It might be everyone goes to their room and has a little quiet time. It might be snacks. It might be we all go on a dog walk, but it is not a pounce.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And as you settle, then they come to you rather than you chasing them away.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, because you think, well, I want to show them that I care about them and that I miss them, that I'm really interested in their day. But what they're seeing is, why are you interrogating me as soon as I walk in the door?
Totally.
Even if it had nothing to do with like, what'd you do at your mom's? Because we didn't ask that. It was, how was your day? But to them, that was still Lori interrogating or butting in where she didn't belong yet. I didn't have that trust and that love with them.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, kids in a nuclear intact family also do not like being interrogated the day they've been in school all day talking and engaging. They need to rest their brain. Yeah, us grown-ups, we got lots of things to learn regardless of our family story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember asking my kids, what did you learn today? Every single day, nothing. Come on, you've been in school for how long? You've not learned a thing.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing that we learned, going back kind of what we talked about earlier about food. Dinner is a huge source of contention in step families because maybe the step parent wants the children to eat healthier, but they don't want broccoli. They've never eaten broccoli. They've never had to eat broccoli. And the bio parent is like, don't force my baby to eat stuff. Just back off, right? But one thing we learned is if I cooked, they were like, that looks like dog food. I'm not eating that. So I was like, look, David, when they're here, you're feeding them. If you don't want to cook for me and Jackson, I'll go get us something. That's fine. But I would cook and David would tell them he cooked and they're like, oh, this is delicious.
Ooh.
And it
Well,
just goes to show it's not about you as a person. It's what you represent. I represented their mom and dad would never get back together.
that's right. That's right. And again, if you can be a grown up about it and realize it's not personal, it is a symbol,
Mhm.
and you are a constant reminder that they're parents. And it's one thing when your parents don't repartner, that you can always in the back of your mind still have that little bit of hope.
Mhm.
But as soon as they repartner, it just means now you're sitting in that seat. And I wish it were my mom, even if they love and adore you. So they're going through, I would think, and maybe those first 2-3 years, like you talked about, and when it got so hard for all of you, everybody's grieving the divorce again.
Right. And loyalty binds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So this little blog of yours kind of exploded,
It
and
did.
the movement of Nacho Kids and working with families around the world, so much so that some interesting bonds have come and some surprises. Can you share an illustration with us of how those families have stayed in touch with you, and those surprising moments, like when you got invited to a wedding?
Yes. We've actually had one couple that was in our academy come visit with us. That was so cool. We had a blast hanging out with them. And then I knew this one couple was getting married, and she messaged me one day. We were actually out eating Mexican. And I get this message and it said, I would be honored if you and David would come to our wedding. And look, I even get cold chills saying it.
Mhm.
I almost cried.
Yeah.
It was the sweetest thing. And so we went, and these people, they're awesome. The day after their wedding, that night, they had dinner with us
Oh,
to tell us if it wasn't for us, they wouldn't be married.
Mhm.
wow.
And we know they did the work.
Yeah.
We didn't do it for you. But it was just one of those things that, oh my gosh, you don't realize how much you can help other people sometimes just by sharing what you went through. And I get really attached to people. So a lot of these people that have been in our academy, they're my friends. I love them, and I want what's best for them. And it's just, it's amazing to be able to build those partnerships and friendships and watch these people grow.
It's beautiful. David, if there was something you could do differently, if you could go back in time, knowing what you know now, what would you have done different in the integration and introduction of Lori and Jackson to your own boys?
Wow. My initial response is I wouldn't change a theme because I think it would mess up where I am now.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah, it's like, okay, if everything worked perfectly, then we wouldn't have Nacho Kids and be able to help all these people. So, but I know what you're asking. I think the thing I would do differently, any changes that I thought that we needed to make early on when we got married, I would have made those changes before we got married, so they weren't tied to her, so that they weren't looking at that and going, oh, the reason this changed is because of her.
Yeah, we could jump on the couch till Lori came.
Right.
Oh,
So I would have made all those changes way before we got married.
and David, did you live with your boys as a single parent household for a period of time after your divorce? How long was that gap?
Year and a half, 2 years, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Obviously, you and your son, Lori, were very nuclear for a time, and dad a little more absent. So, David, you were creating a lifestyle and routine with your kids,
Mm-hmm.
and there maybe were things that would have changed. And I'm curious, what comes to mind on that list
Things that would have changed.
before Lori was on the scene?
So some of the ones that I can think of off the top of my head would be, like she said, not running up and down the stairs, not jumping on the couch. I mean, because they just kind of had free reign to do any of that stuff. Because I didn't care. She did. I didn't care if they ran up down the steps. But some of those things we could have identified early on. Like, these are going to be issues if we don't resolve these. So change those now.
So in
So,
your court, I'm sorry to interrupt, but to be clear, in your courtship, when you started spending time with each other's kids before you lived together,
right.
you were starting to identify differences in parenting style, difference in behaviors.
I wouldn't say we were conscious enough with that to identify that at the time.
That would be a change. For those that are listening, who are on the front end of this story, and you are starting a new relationship and you both have kids, to really dig in and recognize, how do we parent differently? What are our parent values? What are our values and our routines and our rituals in our family?
Yeah.
And to like really lay those out and see, where is there going to be compatibility and where is there going to be conflict and consternation, and then what would we start to soften around the edges before we come under one roof? If
Yeah.
I'm getting your, like, that's the recipe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I think she and I have a parenting style that is very similar. But what we found out, like she brought up earlier, because of guilty parenting and all that, is that although our parenting styles are similar, they aren't the same as they would be had we been just in a nuclear family. If she and I would have a kid together in a nuclear family, I think we would parent very similarly.
Mhm.
But in a blended family and all the dynamics that come with that, we don't parent similarly.
Mhm.
We do out of guilt.
Yeah. But I mean, just, back to your other question, everything from, hey, you painted the walls a different color to, you brought your couch here and we had to get rid of the other couch, and just everything, all the stuff that was changing. Whereas I looked at it as, I'm glad stuff's changing. And I gave her, like, hey, go pick out whatever you want, change the color of the walls. I don't care. I want you to feel like this is your home too. But the kids were looking at it going, what in the world is she doing? She's taking over.
She's getting rid of our memories
Yeah.
Right. Oh,
because I moved into their house. Yeah.
I remember having a relationship with his kids were adults. They were like senior in high school, going to college, and we rearranged the living room furniture.
Oh no.
Didn't even change but rearranged the furniture. He rearranged his bedroom. And I'm like, I'm not touching any of that. And he's like, I want help. I want things to, like you, David, like, I need it to be refreshed. I need it to feel different. I need to reset. But I symbolically, whether I touched a piece of furniture or not, my presence in that world was symbolizing change and shift, even if they adored me, which they did. It was disruptive. And I don't think that we're conscious enough about how the little things, because those kids already are living across two homes. They've already had so much disruption. And it sounds like, Lori, you and your son moved into David's house. Is that what happened?
That's correct. And I have to say, when we were in the worst part, I didn't see what the kids were going through. I couldn't, because of my own pain and my own hurts. And even with my son, I felt like that he was treated like the redheaded stepkid. So I was constantly on guard to make sure nothing was said to him.
Protecting your baby.
Yeah, protecting my baby. And one day it hit me. I heard him and one of the brothers arguing. And I was getting ready to react and go in there and protect my baby and, pull him away from the evil monster. And I was like, wait a minute. My sisters and I fought like cats and dogs. And that's some of the best memories we have. Like, do you remember me beating you up over a buff puff? We're like, yeah. So I was like, he needs to learn to do this himself.
Yeah.
I can't protect him at school. I can't protect him when he's at his dad's. He needs to learn how to handle these things on his own, because they needed to build that bond. And by me jumping in, it made the kids go, don't mess with Jackson. You'll get in trouble if he cries.
Right. And sometimes discord is a sign of safety and trust. I feel safe enough to be scrappy with you, to say, I mean, we know with our bio kids, they treat us the worst because they know the love is there.
Right.
How has the relationship of these step siblings changed and evolved over time from those scrappy days?
Well, 3 of David's kids went into the Air Force, and almost right at the same time.
So proud. Thanks to them for their service.
Thank you.
And when they left, there were two of them that Jackson was kind of close with. And I told them, I said, please don't forget about my baby. You know, to y'all, he's a stepbrother. To him, y'all are his brothers.
Right. Because he's an only child.
Yeah. One week he was an only child. The next week he wasn't. And so I remember one day I said something to Jackson. I said, yeah, one of the brothers said such. I know. I was like, how do you know? He's like, I talked to him. And it just made my heart melt. It's like, oh, they love my baby.
They have a relationship outside
Yes.
of you.
Yes.
That's such a win.
Yes, 100%.
Oh,
It's great. And even my relationships with the kids, it's amazing. Sorry, my dogs are going to bark. It's amazing how far those relationships have come. One of them, I don't nacho as much as I used to. I'll tell him, I'll be like, dude, pick up your mess. Come on. What's wrong with you? Another one I won't, because I know we don't have that same type of relationship. And I'll just tell David, hey, can you pick that up? And he knows whose kids it is that did it. And he'll be like, pick your crap up, you know.
yeah.
But those relationships, they had to be built on trust. We had to create that foundation. So when I did say something to them, it wasn't out of judgment or criticism. It was out of love. And now they know that 100%.
Beautiful. Such a rich conversation with Lori and David Sims of Nacho Kids. David, remind us where folks can find you and additional resources so they can, again, infuse their own blended families with more function.
Sure. So you can find our main site at nachokids.com. If you're interested in the Academy, you can go to nachokidsacademy.com. And we have a podcast, the Nacho Kids Podcast, anywhere that you listen to the podcast, and also a YouTube channel. So we're everywhere.
Fantastic. What words of wisdom would you send our listeners off with today as they think about growing healthy, vibrant, fulfilling blended families?
Mine would be grieve the nuclear family you thought you would have.
Yeah, I think I would say, don't assume that you don't need help and get it quickly. Like if I could go back, and we thought we were doing this, like we thought we were getting prepared in the right way. And, if I had to do it all over again and I had something like Nacho Kids as a resource, I would get in early and I would try to figure things out early, because waiting until after there's all this resentment and damage to your relationship and then try to do this, it can be done. We did it and we see a lot of other people do it, but it is so much harder to do.
And there are still things that David will talk about, or I'll talk about on our podcast or in interviews. And there's some things you can tell by my facial reaction, I don't want to talk about it. It's so hard still, because that pain sometimes just comes back. And that's one thing I had to do when I started the Academy. Started the Facebook group, is not to let other people's issues remind me of ours. Because I would come home and be like, man, y'all are horrible kids. I really wouldn't say that to them, but that's what I would think. It would bring back memories of the struggles we had. And we have to remember, just for David and us, that those struggles are helping us to help other people not experience that. I like to say, if one tear that I shed is one less tear than you have to shed, then we're doing our job.
Yeah. Little secret that most people don't know is we actually have the lost episodes of the podcast. We started a podcast probably a year before we actually went public with the podcast, because I think we recorded 3 or 4 different episodes.
I couldn't do it.
And then we were like, we're not ready. We can't talk about our journey because it's still too painful. And so we never published those episodes. And it took about another year before we were ready again.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to both of you, Laura and David Sims of Nacho Kids, for taking the pain and the journey of your family and truly transforming it and creating Miracle Grow for all the rest of these families to learn through your trials and tribulations and what you have transformed into truly a beautiful calling. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
And listeners, I just want to celebrate you for taking the time to invest in yourself and to know that what you are walking through, you're not alone. these are hard days, and we don't know how to do it unless we turn to people who've been there before us. So again, reach out, find resources. You can find me at thegooddivorcecoach.com. And remember, everything will be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end.
Thanks for listening. Do you have questions or thoughts about this week's episode? Let us know by following the Good Divorce Coach on Facebook and Instagram at Good Divorce Coach, and leave a comment. And be sure to tune in every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific or listen anytime wherever you get your podcasts.